Good evening, everyone, and welcome in. Very excited to have everyone joining us this evening. My name is Kesley Anderson, and I am an instructor with Michaels. Tonight's workshop, we're going to be talking about the Sawgrass sublimation printer and the sublimation technique in general. We'll be using a Craft Express oven to make a project. I'm hoping to get to 2 projects this evening. If you got a sublimation printer for the holidays or anything like that, please drop in the Q&A. If you just got your sublimation printer, you're new to sublimation printing, or you're interested in getting a sublimation printing and starting on the process of sublimation. I do have some notes down here for myself, so I hope you guys will forgive me. Because there's a lot of technical terms that go along with sublimation, so I don't want to miss anything out. Now, again, drop your comments in the Q&A. Our chat is disabled because it goes so fast. So the Q&A is, we keep it to the Q&A so that we can really see your questions and answer your questions as we're moving through. So what is sublimation and why is it different? Sublimation is it's a chemical process, if you will, that starts with a different type of printer and a different type of ink and a different type of paper that you may be unfamiliar with. So we're going to be using the Sawgrass SG2500 printer today. And I have it set up with my Sublijet ink and sublimation paper. So all of those tie together to create sublimation. Sublimation ink is different than, say, your home printer ink. It's a different consistency, it's a different type of ink, and it works differently. When you think about your sublimation printer, you have to consider that it works with a dye base. So as you print something out, it comes out on your paper and it goes into the paper. So the paper you're using is specifically designed for sublimation. It's designed to hold the sublimation ink when it comes from the printer. And then when you use a high temperature, the molecules are released from the paper and transferred to your sublimation blank, whether that's a mug or fabric or leather or ceramic, steel. Whenever you're transferring that over, it is released, those molecules, the ink molecules are released from the paper and then they're absorbed into your blank. Now, your blank isn't just any old mug or tumbler. It is a mug or tumbler or fabric that is coated to accept the sublimation ink. So you can't just use any type of white mug. Your mug needs to be specifically for sublimation. The sublimation coating sort of opens up when it's heated at a high temperature. And those pores opening up allow the molecules to come in and absorb into the surface. So when you're thinking about how does sublimation vary from, say, vinyl or ink, what's it called? When you do the ink on your shirt, screen printing. How is it different from that? Your screen printing and your heat transfer vinyl sits on top of the material. If you're using pressure sensitive vinyl, it sits on top of your blank. With sublimation, it's absorbed into the blank. So if you have a mug with a vinyl design on it, yes, you can absolutely put that in the dishwasher. It will last for a good long time, but it won't last forever. Your sublimation design on the blank will last forever until you break the mug or lose the mug. I always say to my kids, like, you can lose something with sublimation on it. We'll find it and it'll still have all your details on it. So that's kind of the gist of how sublimation works. You have a special sublimation printer that is designed to work with the sublimation inks. And then you have sublimation paper. And your sublimation paper has 2 sides to it. This is a piece of Make Market sublimation paper. The white side here is the side that accepts the ink molecules. and it's got the make market on the back. I kind of like using this one because it has the make market in the back, so you always know which way it should go into your printer. And then you also need to have a heat source that will go up to, the high temperatures that are required for sublimation. So, for example, when you look at one of the make market products, it will give you the temperature settings on the product as you're going. So, for example, for this mug, we need to set our settings at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So your home, like if you're working on a t-shirt or something like that with sublimation, your home iron just won't get hot enough to cause that transfer of ink molecules from the paper to your fabric. So you have to use like an easy press or an overpress that will get to that high temperature. Also, when you're working with curved angles like this, you need to have a heat source that will allow the heat to work around those curves. So that's why we're going to use the sublimation oven today, because any weird shape you might have of sublimation products that are not flat, you can wrap them and put them in the oven. So like if you're working on pens or the trays, anything like that, you can put that in the oven. So that's why I have my little Craft Express oven here. And I'm going to take out, before I heat it up, I'll take out my gloves because it does get super duper hot. So when you're working with sublimation, something else to keep in mind is you need to have the materials to prep with. So when you're working with something that's ceramic, there could be little fibers that you can't even see with your naked eye. You want to make sure that you get those cleaned off and no fingerprints on there or anything like that. Anything between your print design and the blank itself, the ink will transfer onto that. So like if you get a dog hair or human hair stuck in between your print and your design, the color will transfer to the dog hair. Now the dog hair will come off and leave a little line on your blank. So you want to make sure that you have lint-free cloths to work to clean off, like if you're doing something ceramic. And then if you're doing fabric, you just need to have a lint brush to clean it off. You'll also need to have heat-resistant tape. So you can't use like your regular Scotch tape or your masking tape. You need to have heat-resistant tape. You'll see it in the Michael's aisle. It's this blue kind. When you're doing, you can just get a small roll of it to get started. Let me grab one to show you what you're looking for. You can get just a small roll of it like this as you're getting started, and then you can upgrade to a bigger jobby like that guy. But you do just need to have special heat resistant tape when you're working with it. The other thing, if you're working with different shapes like a mug, you'll need to have these sleeves. And what the sleeves do is if you put this into a mug press, the mug press clamps around the design and holds the design in place. So you'll need to have a sublimation sleeve to hold your design in place. And we're going to go over all of that for each different type of product as we go. So if you have questions on those getting started items, our printer, your special heat sources, the extra tools you need, and your make market supplies. The make market has an abundance of different mugs and little dog collars. There's mouse pads, all kinds of things that you can use to create. And you just want to make sure that they all say sublimation. So whenever you're picking something up, if it doesn't say sublimation, it doesn't have that special coating to be ready for sublimation. So are you guys ready to get started? Why don't I'm going to take us into the Sawgrass, my Sawgrass website, and I'll share with you how to design something in the software. So I'm going to share my screen here. It takes just a second to pop over. Okay. So we'll just share the screen. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm actually going to go back over here and we're going to design an item. Now, to get your Sawgrass login in your account, it's completely free, so you can start right away. And then they do have content that you can add to your lineup. So you pay a monthly fee for those. And you can also upload your own designs. Now, when you come into My Sawgrass, you can select a blank to work with if you know what you're making, or you can start with a blank canvas that's the size of your paper. So for today's project, I know I have this 11-ounce ceramic mug. So I'll select that product. Now, this makes it super easy to get your item designed in the right size for what you're making if you use the template. So once you have that template in, you have all these options on the left side here to add to your design. If you had a design that you wanted to upload, you could just click on upload file and you could upload that design. So let's say your child did a piece of artwork and you scanned it in and you wanted to print it out. That's where you would go to the upload file. And you could just take your JPEG and bring it into My Sawgrass and print that out. This is also where you could upload photos. If you wanted to add photos to a template, you could do that right here in the upload file. If you wanted to design on your own, you have the elements. So you have an entire graphics library of individual elements that you can combine and bring together for some really fun and cute designs. So you have like the animals and you have racing, and every month new designs are being added to this library. So it grows and grows and grows. The little diamond on the designs indicate if that's paid content. So if you have your Sawgrass monthly, you can use those as many as you want, as often as you want. And I'll tell you one, oops, I don't want to do that. I'll tell you one other thing about the graphics library with Sawgrass, which is fantastic. If you decided you saw a cute little bird that you wanted to put on your mug, you could use that mug and actually resell the mug. So you could do a special for a class or a fundraiser, anything like that. And then you can resell that mug. Sawgrass has done all the work for you to make that a possibility. So the copyright, the licensing, you're allowed to make that and sell that. You can add in fonts. So if you wanted to add in a name or something like that, you could do that right in the fonts library. This Designs is one of my favorite spots to go check out because they've done all the heavy lifting for me over at Sawgrass, and they have created a design that I can just pick up and add to my my blank. So here are a lot of the different flower designs, and I was going to use this one, Always Growing. So I'm going to add that onto my mug, and you'll see I can resize it if I need to resize it for the design. I just would highlight everything and just drag it out and resize it how big I need it to fit on my mug. Each of these items is its own individual layer. So you can even go into the different layers on the canvas and duplicate things, move them around if you wanted to. So if I wanted to add another daffodil, I would just do a control copy and a control paste, and I could then drag that daffodil over here and put that there. Maybe the person I'm giving this to is allergic to daisies, or they don't like daisies, which that's crazy to me. But I could just pop that out if I wanted to and remove that from the lineup. So you can really, you have a lot of flexibility. If you wanted to make this for somebody, like if you know, as a teacher gift or something like that, and you wanted to change the text, you can usually, sometimes the text is its own block and its own image, but you can usually come in the text and change that text. So if you wanted to change that out for a teacher or something, say you had Mrs. Stevens and you wanted to make a mug for her, you could just add that in there like that and change your size, change your positioning, all kinds of stuff like that. Once you have your design the way that you'd like it, you just click Save and Print or Print, and this will take that design over to the Sawgrass Print Utility feature. And I think I may have to close out on this screen so I can open up that screen. But we'll let this all run through. As that's going through. Now, I'm going to preemptively answer a few questions while my computer's thinking. So one of the questions we get is, why can't you use a printer that you already have and just add sublimation ink to it? Which I think that's a great question because it seems logical, right? But it's actually, okay, so sorry, I'm going to pause myself. I click Print File, and this sends it over to my Print Utility. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'll share my other screen here, which is, oops, my Print Utility will pop up in just a second. Here it comes. Just one moment. Let's go here. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, there we go. My bar underneath my computer was blocking my view. So while this is pulling up into the Print Utility, you can see right here it is. I'll answer that question. So the key difference really lies in the type of ink and how it interacts with the material. Your regular inkjet printer uses liquid ink that sits on the surface of the paper material, whereas the sublimation ink really dives into the specific paper that you're using. So without the ink and the paper combination, your design wouldn't bond to the paper, your ink wouldn't bond to the paper and then be able to transfer to the material. And it's because that ink has like a thicker substance to it, and it's a special sublimation ink. Okay, so now that we're in the Print Utility, you can see that your Sawgrass printer is right here, and you'll see how much ink you have available, and those details are all right here. You can see the size of your design. If you want to repeat it and put two of the same design on one paper, you can do that. Down here in the print settings is really where you want to pay attention. This is going on a ceramic mug, so I want to click on ceramic drinkware and select the material I'm using. This will alert the software that it needs to modify the amount of ink that it's printing so that it will print the right amount of ink to go on a ceramic drinkware versus fabric. Now, if I'm using just one image, I like to center that image on the page, and that kind of makes it easier to cut out and place in the right spot. Up here also, you want to do color management. If you're doing a photograph, you want to have it on the photograph. If you're just doing color, you can select vivid, and then that will put it right on as a vivid bright color. And then we'll go back over to general, and you can just make sure that your product is ceramic, you're using letter size paper, and what tray it's coming out of, how your print orientation. So all that is very similar to the way it normally is. And then you would just click the print. Yes, can you put two images on one item, like on a cup, for example? If I want to put flowers on one side and a little message on the other side, absolutely. You can do that either in the software. You could put two images on that mug that you have, or you can just cut them out of the paper and adhere them to your mug, like tape them to your mug as you're going in. So you could do it either way that way. So yeah, you can move your design around. That's why, like, if you have two two mugs that you want to print out at once, you can print them on the page together. So you can duplicate that and print it twice. You can also stack two designs into one page. So I can share my screen again and show you how I do that. I think if I have two designs in here, let's see. So if I wanted to, I could merge two designs together. So I could select the job. Now, sometimes if it's too big of a design, it won't go onto the same page, but other times it will. So let's see if it goes together. Yep. So now I have both of my designs on one page and I can just print it like that. There also are half slips of paper. So you could print it from a half slip of paper if you wanted to, and that you just change your settings on your paper tray to fit half the paper. So you can even cut your paper in half and then size it that way. I do have my design already printed out for tonight, and I went ahead and trimmed it to save us a little bit of time. This will take a minute to heat up, so I'm going to go ahead and I also have to do another heat process, and I don't want to blow my energy, so it takes a couple minutes just to get everything all set up. So if you have questions in a minute, I'll be able to answer them directly. So please do pop those into the chat. And I should have worn glasses. Okay, preheat oven to 356 and heat for 12 minutes. So this will have to go for 12 minutes in the heater. So that's a good thing. That is one difference between using the oven and, say, a mug press. The oven takes a little bit longer, but it is the heat and the air circulates around your design, so it really gets it all in there. For a mug, if you're doing a standard size mug, there we go. If you're doing a standard size mug, I don't necessarily see a huge advantage or disadvantage to using a mug press over the oven. So you could do it either way. But if you want to do a lot of different types of things, a lot of different projects, the oven gives you just a lot more flexibility, whereas a mug press, you're only doing one item, if that makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and I'm using a lint-free cloth that has alcohol on it. And we're just going to get this all cleaned up and ready to go. Now, what will happen is there will be parts of my design that my paper won't touch. I got to pull out my handy dandy. This is great for holding your mugs and things like that. So there'll be parts of my design on them that don't touch the mug, and there's no way to secure like around the handle. There's really not a good way to secure your design there. So you want to leave like about a ½ inch from the handle for your design. So you won't get your design to go all the way around just because you don't have the contact with it to do so. So you just take your design and we're going to find the middle of our design here. And fortunately, because I did it on my page, it's right in the middle. So I have the design. Now my design is mirrored. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but you mirror your design for most items because it's going to transfer in a mirrored format. And then we're going to find the center of our mug and put the center of our design at the center point of our mug. You'll also see on this side where your center is. So if you need to adjust that a little bit, you can do that and line it up right there. Okay. Now, one thing I will say, very nice in the middle there. And so I'm just going to take my tape and I'll put my tape around my mug. You can never use too much tape. That's kind of what my motto is on this. You can really never use too much tape. The tape will hold your design down so that you really want it close around your design. So you want your paper to really hug your design, and then we'll use the sleeve to really hug it even more. So once you have one side taped like that, we're going to come back in and grab our other side and really just pull that over as much as we can, because we really want to make sure that it's tight on the mug itself. So we'll just grab that and pull it over like so. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do that on the handle. It's all taped very tight on the handle. And then we'll put extra tape around the top and the bottom of the design. Now, some people don't feel this is necessary, and some people do. So I show you how to do it in case you want to make sure that your design is touching on your mug as best it can. It's really, I think it's a personal preference. If you feel more confident with your design having this much tape on it or not, totally up to you. I don't think that there's a right or a wrong in this sense. So do what you're comfortable with. I would say if you're just getting started to do it all the way around and make sure there's no gaps or holes between your paper and your design.
Kesley, we have two questions.
Yeah.
Sonia is wondering, she has a heat press with mug accessories, but can you use a traditional oven?
Good question. So when you're working with sublimation, it does release a chemical. It's molecules, so there is some chemical reaction to it. So you need to have a designated cooker, whether that is a convection oven like this one, or people use air fryers. So if you have like an air fryer that you don't intend to cook in anymore, you can certainly use something like that. That, people do that. So yeah, so you do need to have a dedicated heat source for it.
And Melissa is wondering, do you have any suggestions on a good heat press?
So Melissa, what are you making? What types of items are you interested in making? Are you give me an idea of what you're making, and then I can answer that question a little bit better. So I'm using butcher paper, and I'm going to put it around my design. Now, when you're using a convection oven, this step isn't as important because your design doesn't have anything to transfer to, but I'm going to put it in the sublimation sleeve. And sometimes if I don't get it off fast enough, the sublimation sleeve will kind of stick to the ceramic. So I want to just give myself a little bit of protection there and not have the sublimation sleeve right up against my design. If you're putting your design in a mug press, you definitely want to use your sublimation. You want to use your butcher paper to protect your mug press from the design transferring to your mug press. So Melissa, if you're making hats and shirts, so shirts, if you're doing flat items, you can really use the Cricut Easy Press, and that works out really nicely. For hats, there is a special hat press that goes across the top, which I like to do that. I also like to use patches. Michaels has the Make Market patches, which you can design with sublimation, and those work out really well. All right, Ash, gotta just shrink this up so you'll see how this shrinks. All right. So this is what kind of gives that pressure and will hold everything together. Now that I'm done with that, I can turn my oven on. It's at 350 for 6 minutes, and my time needs to be adjusted. Always.
We've got a
temperature there.
couple
Yeah,
more questions coming in if you'd like me to throw them your way.
yeah, that's great.
Um,
I'm backwards. So.
Once you choose the Sawgrass ink type for the Sawgrass machine, are you able to change between brands or do you stick with the Sawgrass ink once it's installed?
So I would recommend sticking with one type of ink. Um, the Sawgrass ink is manufactured here in the United States in Charleston, South Carolina. So their quality control is top notch. When you use one set of their ink, the next set is going to match the colors. They keep a little bit of each color on hand to compare I mean, it is the color processing of your Sawgrass ink is really top notch. So I would use Sawgrass ink. I like it. It's consistent. My colors are vibrant. The software is really good. I would not, if I had a Sawgrass printer, I would not then put in a different type of sublimation. There are generic brands, but I personally wouldn't risk that. It just doesn't seem that just doesn't seem like a good idea. If you're investing in your sublimation and either you're doing it as a business or a process, I would stick with one sublimation ink in your sublimation printer.
And what about changing types of ink? Sawgrass
So
ink,
if
but a different type.
So same thing, because the different, like if there's a SubliJet and then there's another one that could work in here. And you want to have a dedicated printer for that type of ink because the ink thickness is different. And so if you just all of a sudden put in a different ink cartridge and that ink is mixing together, it's going to gunk up your machine and I think probably void the warranty. So Sonia, are you asking my heat tool? This is just a heat gun. So this is in like the stamp aisle. It's used for like when you're embossing on stamps. So this is just my heat gun. And I just use that to heat up my sublimation on here. When you put your sublimation sleeve in the convection oven, it will even suck up a little bit tighter. So if you don't have something like this and you're using the convection oven, don't worry, it'll still suck that up for you and you'll be ready to go. Yeah, so to just go back to that, there are 3 types of Sawgrass ink. Once you've committed your printer to one type of Sawgrass ink, you don't want to change over to the other type of Sawgrass ink in the same printer. Like that printer is then dedicated to that type of ink. I think it's called Chromoblast is another one of the inks that they have. So once you use one, you just want to stick to that one ink. Okay, so how are we coming over here? Oh, so what will happen with the convection oven here is it will beep at me when it's hot enough. And as soon as it's hot enough, I need to put my item in there and then it will start the process of heating it through. So while that's heating up, why don't I have a little tote bag? I have a couple tote bags here. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but the Washington, D.C. Zoo just got 2 new pandas. So I have a cute little panda bag. Life is too short to be anything but a panda. And then a cute little panda design on here. This bag is the canvas tote with the black bottom and it has a zipper in the top. So it's a really cute, sturdy tote. And this is my sample bag. So my other one I'm going to make tonight is this polyester tote. This is just a 13.5 by 13.5 little white tote here that we're going to put that design on. The reason I wanted to show this one though is now that Michaels has fabric, if you have white polyester fabric, 100% polyester, you can sublimate on that fabric. So if you like sew or want to make other kinds of aprons or something silly like that, like I say silly because I'm thinking like an apron with somebody's face on it for Father's Day or something like that. You can buy the fabric, sew something, and then sublimate it. I did that a lot for the Christmas holidays, sublimating bags for family members and things like that. So just something to keep in mind. So while this is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and I'll show you how to do your tote. Oh, let me stop share real quick. So as you can see, this will automatically start to count down my time. So I know this is ready to go in there. I'm just going to pop it in. Put it right in there and then close that up. And that's going to heat up for about 12 minutes. So let's look at our next design here. I know you guys are asking some great questions, so keep them coming. So on this one, I have a tote bag and I can look through, there's different accessories. You can see how many different items are available. So let's do a search, quick search for tote and see if we get some tote bags come up. Or maybe I should have put in bag. So you have a lot of different designs for bags that come up, the glitter bags, the canvas tote bag. I think this is probably the one I need. So let's just, if you wanted to, you can go to the information and pull up the size of the bag. Now, the printer I'm using, so this is 13 by 13. Okay, so we'll use this one. The printer I'm using, the SG 2500, you can use 8.5 by 11 paper or legal size paper. Either one will work in this printer very easily. So again, I'm just going to go to, oh, I think that design is actually in my uploads. So here's my little panda that I've already uploaded this design. So I can just pop that right on there. Now it is a 13 by 13. So my printer is a little bit smaller than that, obviously. So I need to bring this in to about an 8 by 8 size. Let's get that. So he'll fit right on my bag. Okay. So this I can print and have that print one 8 by 8 size. And then if I wanted to, on top of that, add some text, I could certainly come back and add a font and add some text style to this. So I could say that quote about being anything but be a panda, or we can just say like maybe a little welcome. And here you can change your font. So you have all the fonts in the system, and you can also pull from your own fonts. So if you have fonts that you like to use, you can pull from your own fonts or use the fonts that are provided in the software here. And then we'll just change that down so it's a little wee bit smaller there. And I'm going to give it an arch effect. So I can just come in and arch that design right there. And just do welcome. And then if I want to, I can go back and say, you know, I kind of think I want to have that welcome be a smaller letter and maybe take a, oh no, I like the exclamation, like that. So that's how that design can go on my paper. On my design. Now you'll see I have, these are too big to go into one piece of paper because together the size of these is 3.61 by 10.72. So that's too big for, that might fit on an 8. No, that's not the right size. I'm sorry. It's much bigger to go on an 8.5 by 11. So you would just print off each image separate on a separate piece of paper. So I'll do the welcome first. So let's delete that. And I'll do this little welcome sign here. So I just am going to go print, and then I'll print this out to my, to the print utility. And the software really does make everything so easy and user-friendly because you can see how easy it is to find what you need. The content is there for you. You can add your own content. So if you like to design in Inkscape and then bring it in, or Photoshop and bring it in, you have all those options. So you're really not limited by your options. Let me go here and I'll share my screen again as we're coming in. Let's go back here. Okay, so I can share this here with you guys. You'll see it come in. And let's see, it looks like it is weird. Image will not fit with current paper size selection. So let's see, fit to paper size. And maybe I need to switch my paper from a from a vertical to a horizontal, which is what I think I need to do. So let's go down here and you can see I have my paper size set there. If I come down, I can change it from letter to letter. Let's go here. Why is it? Okay, sorry. Let me think about how to rotate it. Here we go. So we can rotate it 90 degrees and bring that out. There we go. So now I will go back and turn off fit to paper size. Let's see if that'll work. Give me that big size that I had. Okay, so that's a little bit smaller than I wanted. I can adjust the size of it here if I wanted to make it bigger. So if I wanted to make it 10 inches, I can adjust that size there, but then my height didn't change. All right, let me go back. I'm going to stop share here. We'll go back in and we'll change that design up. And I see we have some questions, so just give me 1 second. I'll get right to those. Okay. 10.72 by 3.61. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this now so that it's already rotated and see if that will make a difference for me. So let's print that up. Okay, so that's going to transfer over. Now, if you wanted to make this really big, let's say you really wanted to go big and make it across a banner size or something like that, you can splice your design in half, but you have to do it before you bring it into the software. Actually, you can print directly from like Photoshop. You can print directly to your Sawgrass printer from Photoshop. So if you wanted to do, let's say you wanted to make this panda a 16-inch by 16-inch size, you would cut it into 4 different quadrants and print each one 8 by 8 and then tape it together. And you'd have to, move your Easy Press around to be able to get those different print sizes. I mean, to get it to heat up on the different sizes there. All right, so it's just taking a minute to send that over. While that's sending over, I'm going to start getting my bag prepped to put my design onto my bag. So I use my lint brush here, and we're going to brush off any extra lint that might be on my tote. You don't want any lint on there. Now, if you're using something that has, say, a zipper in it, you want to be mindful of how you put your design down, because you don't want your design to go where you have your zipper. So your heat press, you don't want it to get in where the zipper is, because then it won't give even heat. So that's one reason why I really like the Cricut Easy Press items, because they the Easy Press items really, the plate heats up consistently across the entire face of the plate. So when you're using your Cricut Easy Press, you get consistent heat all the way across the plate, versus like your home iron, you may get more heat on the edge and not as much heat in the center. So using a heat source that gives you consistent heat across the entire space is very important. Now, I can't plug this in and start heating it yet, because I'll blow a fuse around here. Again, you just want to make sure that your item is 100% polyester, or it says sublimation. If it's a cotton, you would have to have like that polyester barrier to have it work. But we're going to pop this up to 380 degrees once we plug that in. And I just have to wait just a couple, let's see how much longer we have on this guy, 2.5 minutes. So I'm just going to set this aside until that comes out. What I have down here is, this is just, I don't even know what this is called, but it's a pad that I use in crafting. It's like a rubber pad. So I can use this with a heat source and put something right down on this, and it doesn't damage my surface. So I'll put my pad underneath it, and then I'll have that on top. So when my mug comes out, I have a spot to put it. And then we'll get this guy started here. Nothing like trying to do two things at once, right? Okay, so I have a little outlet here. And as soon as that guy's done, I can turn him off. I can turn this one on. So my heat, you can see you have a lot of options for heat sources. It just kind of really depends on what you're doing. If you just want to make t-shirts for the family, or you're interested in getting into mugs, that's a great differentiator when you need a different heat press. Your flat easy press can work with coasters. It can work with mouse pads, leather coasters, keychains. Anything that's flat, you can use your heat press, your easy press with. And then when you get into, different shaped items like this, if you're going to do, a tumbler like this is all done with the oven when you're getting into different shapes of things. So one thing I wanted to point out too was these two designs are really simple, single color. This one is vinyl and this one is sublimation. The vinyl can pick off over time. Obviously, these are not dishwasher safe. I have to hand wash both of these, but the vinyl can pick off over time. Whereas my sublimation, this is going to be here forever. And you can add photos onto your tumblers if you wanted to for somebody special, names, all that kind of customization you can do within your printer, within your sublimation printer. All right, we're down to seconds. Where'd I put my mitts? Here they are. So I think the oven comes with a pot holder, but I like to have these mitts because they have grips on them, but I can also put them on both hands and I still have a little bit of dexterity going on. So I'll just put those on and we'll take this out. Now, once you take this out of the oven and start to remove your, I've got my scissors, and you start to remove the sublimation sleeve here, you can't reheat it. So if it didn't take or something like that, you can't reheat it. If you think something went wrong and you didn't have the right time or the right temperature, you can then go back in and add more time to it. So if I felt like, oh, I thought it was 20 minutes and I only put it in for 12, well, you can go back in and add those 8 minutes. Also, I want to caution that when you're removing your sublimation sleeve or your paper, that you don't have any contact with your mug or stainless steel, because you can ding it with, if you use like a weeding tool, you can ding your surface. Okay, so everything's on there, looks pretty good. I can start removing my tape. Oh, let me turn this guy off. Oops, no, I don't want you on. I want you off, and I'm going to turn this guy on. We'll get that one starting to heat up. All right, so here we go. And there's our design. And it came out beautiful. I got to let it cool before I can peel off this bottom tape, but there's our design. And it's got the sentiment always growing with all the flowers around the side of it. Cute. I love how that turned out. Okay, so that's, once it's cooled off, I'll try and peel off the tape if we still have time, but you would just, the tape will just come right off. It doesn't leave anything on the mug itself, but it is really, really hot. Like I can feel it heating up my hands through my gloves. So you really just want to give it time to cool down before you put your bare hands on it. So I will keep that up there as a reminder that this is really hot, because I will grab it. Also, that is one thing, like if you have kids around, you want to make sure that you're not having the hot mugs and things within kids' reach, because it can burn their little fingers. Okay, so I've got my little tray. Let me kind of give myself a 10-second tidy here. Now, with my shirt design here, my bag, I forgot to mention, we're also going to need some sublimation paper for this. So if you have a Teflon sheet, you can use that. But the reason that you use sublimation paper, butcher paper, is so that your image doesn't transfer onto your surface. So you want to protect your heat surface as well as the surface you're pressing on. So I have my little Teflon sheet. I'm going to put that in the middle between my bags. Now, you can also use a piece of cardstock or anything like that to go in the middle of your bag so that you don't have your design transfer down. Did I finish up that welcome? I can't remember. Okay, so another thing when you're doing your bags, look to see these bags have a bottom. So these have like a 2-inch bottom in there. So when I think about where I'm going to place my design, I have to take into consideration that 2-inch bottom. So the center of my bag is really, I've got to account for the bottom and pull that up to the top there to find the middle of my bag. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're doing stuff like that. It could be the lighting. This is sorry, somebody commented that the flowers colors look dull. It could be the lighting, but it's also a pastel design. It's not a super vibrant design. Like this one, this here has like a much brighter, colorful design. These colors are a bit more subdued. So that can make a difference too. I usually try and pick something bright and colorful, but I went for the flowers today. I'm ready for spring. It's cold around here. Okay, so we're gonna preheat our tote here for about 5 seconds, enough to get any wrinkles out and get any moisture out. So that is one thing when you're working with fabric, your fabric can hold moisture. So you want to preheat your fabric to make sure that it doesn't have any moisture. I'm just going to change my temperature here down to 350, what I needed for this. Okay. So 350. Okay. So again, I'm going to take into consideration that little gusset on the bottom and come up to the top so I can find where the center of my design is. Just going to turn it like that, and I'll find the center that way. You can also grab a ruler and find the center of your design with a ruler if you'd like. Usually when I'm doing a t-shirt, I'll fold the t-shirt in half, and then I'll press the design into the t-shirt with it folded in half. So that's kind of what I was looking for here to be able to do. But it doesn't look like it wants to do that for me. So my bag is 12 inches. So my middle is going to be at the 6-inch mark. Okay. And I think we're going to run out of time to put both designs on. So I'm going to just do the panda design for now. So we have this cute little panda guy, and we're just going to put him, find the middle of that design, mark my middles like this, and I'll put that right at the 6-inch mark of my bag. I can use where the handles are on the top to find my location of my bag where I want to put this, right in the center there. I do, if I'm doing this on, say, a bigger press, I won't necessarily tape it down, but since I'm doing it with the easy press, I want to make sure that it stays in place. So I'm going to go ahead and tape it down. I also need to grab that. And then I also need to put my paper inside so my design doesn't transfer over. So we'll just put that like right inside there, so it doesn't bleed through the bag. You want to just have something in there when you're doing a t-shirt or anything like that. You want to have something on the inside. Okay, and just so I know where my design needs to go. I'm just going to make sure I get it all covered up with my iron. So I'm going to just peel off the bottom bit there that I don't necessarily need. This is a great design because it kind of fades out. And then the last bit I need is a piece of paper on top of that. Like, so just another piece of butcher paper on top. All right, so there we go. And now my press is all set up. And I think it was 40 seconds. So it was the amount of time I needed. I hope so. I'm going to go like that. I usually use a bigger press, so I may have made my design a little bit too big for this. Let's hope not. So medium pressure, you don't have to push on it too hard. You don't have to be a brick. You just kind of want to hold it on there. Medium pressure. If you have a larger design than your press, you want to pick your press up, move it, and put it back down. So instead of like, you don't want to slide your press on what you're pressing, because if you slide it, your image could shift. Even if you've taped it down, it could shift a little bit, and then that will give you the ghosting. So you'll have that experience, maybe, hopefully not. It could happen. And I'm just going to peek underneath and make sure that my design, yes, my design was all the way under. So let's hope I get my good transfer that I'm looking for on my bag. There we go. I have a little bit of a shadowing there. There's right there. I must have not had my hand on it. So you do have a little bit of shadowing there. But isn't that cute? Look at those colors. It's great. It does transfer right from your sheet onto your blank. So that was that. There it is on the white, and this is a little bit of a cream color, so you can kind of see the difference between the two. I probably would have gone probably should have had like another 20 seconds on my white bag here, and move when I do it without a camera here. When I do it, I do, like make sure that I'm pressing each corner of my press. So, I may put my hands up here for about 10 seconds, move them here and move them down here, just to make sure that I'm getting that pressure, but not moving my press, because if you move your press, then you do get that shadowing. So I'm sorry that one didn't come out as great as I was hoping it would. But there we go. I'm ready to go to the zoo. See those new little pandas. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate your time here. I hope we got all of your questions answered. This class has been recorded, so it will be on the Michael's YouTube channel, and I hope you join me for a future class. Have a great evening, everybody.